Oh, it's getting sweaty in here. Need to brush off the forehead. Guys, it's going to lead up to be an entertaining final match. You know, winner of this one gets it over the line. It's all down to this. So essentially, last 4 games, throw them out the window. Best of 1 territory now. 1 game remaining. And the question is, are we going to see Appy on that volley again? Is he going to go back to something different? Actually, it wasn't even Appy on the volley. It was Lisa on the volley. But are we going to see volley stolen away from Pabu solely so they don't have to ban it? That's the real question here.
I mean
no,
Appy was on the volley at one point.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was,
they
you know, it was
flexed
the flexing it, you know.
The thing is, they picked blue side this game, right? So game 5, Peace have said we're playing blue, I believe, and the way that this will change the dynamic is if they were going to pick a volley bear, you'd probably be picking it first, right? And I don't think their priorities go that way. I'm actually more interested in the bans from Pensinet coming into this 5th game because last time they left open a Hecarim on this side of the map. That was pretty dangerous. So I'm very curious to see what changes, and you know, maybe there is a volley first pick because they've been so many junglers. Who knows?
I was very interested in the Cogmore hover from the first draft there. Do you think anything would have changed if that eventuated? You know, we did have in the interview, I think it was Halo in one of those interviews saying they really wanted to get Violet on that Cogmore. So do you think we might see a little bit of a stretch in the final game?
That was a different context though. He said he wanted to have 4 support-oriented sort of, you know, jungler, top, mid, whatever.
Yep.
That wasn't the case because the Cogmore was the final pick. It was Cogmore or Vayne for the 5th pick. So it wasn't really an option in that respect. But I actually think it probably would have gone worse for Peace if we would have seen the Cogmore there. I don't think you have the playmaking ability that you do on the Vayne. I'm not sure that we would have seen it be quite as close.
Well,
although the Vayne didn't feel like it had as much impact as I thought it would, so maybe it could have gone better.
I got some good news, but before the good news, I just want to ask a question, Jordan. Did you have your tea? How's it going?
I've got my tea.
Yep. You're all sorted down here? Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, well, are you ready? For game 5?
I am now.
Okay, beautiful. What about you, Rusty? You ready for game 5? Ah, look at this. I didn't bother because I was like, look, I'll just do it in my little breaks. So, you know, just rub that one in before you guys have to yell about League of Legends.
Enjoy your time
one more
off, Mac.
Oh, mate, like, I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm ready. And so is the game. Game 5 coming up right now. Champ selectors ready. Peace and Pensinet. Who's going to take the dub? Boys, let's find out.
Well, that's good to hear, Mac. I'm looking forward to getting into this one and speaking to the bans immediately here, Rusty, because that is all important. You asked for the Hecarim ban, and you got it. Xayah ban as well through there from Pentanet, but Thresh still ends up managing to find a way to get banned out. So we won't be seeing him in this series. The same can be said for Seraphine. Interestingly, Peace go for an Alistar ban as well. They're not interested in seeing that champion on their side or on Pentanet's side, and Jinx this time has been left open.
Yeah.
So that's the first pick for Peace.
Yeah, I mean, Jinx, I think that's the first time this whole series it hasn't been banned by PGG. In saying that, it is still the priority champions, a lot of the meta picks that are being banned away by Peace, even on blue side in this draft. So Jinx first pick, we've seen it before. We know it can be pretty successful. This is something we haven't seen as a response to it, however, because we've only seen Jinx versus Direwolves when Peace won 3-0. Lilia, the first pick, the first response here by Pensinet. Pabu did lose on Lilia earlier in this best of 5. Seemed fine mechanically. They were just so far behind, he didn't get a chance to play League of Legends. And also is just one of the better junglers of the mix that are left available with a Hecarim ban. So far, the only changes really are the AD carries.
Yeah, the Aphelios, an interesting one as well to come through for Praedyth. Has played the Aphelios once during regular season, but aside from that, this will be his 2nd appearance on the champion. Chaz is also going to go for the Ahri pick. That's kind of opened up by the fact that Halo has shown his hand on Victor in mid already. So we're kind of prioritizing the counter pick for top and I guess support as well, funnily enough. So we're following suit from the previous game. Again, the volley bear could be a flex here for Peace. So there is that to consider as well, but Rel banned away initially by Pentanet, and I'm quite interested to see what will follow here with the Peace bans? Do they get rid of a couple of supports as well, or are they aiming for the top lane?
Hard to do. I don't know if you can afford to ban supports unless you're really throwing the gauntlet down, right? You've got Jinx on your team and Aphelios on the other team, so you actually both kind of need strong supports to make this lane work effectively. But Pentanet do have the first pick coming out of the second ban phase, so if we continue to go down this rabbit hole of support champions and the pool gets limited like you're currently seeing, it does make you wonder exactly what will be picked. And a fun fact for you, there's only Rakan left for Decoy's champions, otherwise it's back to the supporter Mumu. That's the only other champions that he's played.
I wonder what else is in the wheelhouse. Surely there's a fair bit. You don't get to this level of gameplay. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. I think Gragas or Galio. I mean, I was initially thinking Gragas, but Galio also tickles my fancy a little bit.
That was, well, Aladoric was playing with it yesterday, I believe, was the Galio. So that definitely is an option. But hey, it's Pentanet that can either choose to pick their support first if they think there's a priority champion, or they counter it.
6 seconds. Feels like a lot of deliberation in the Pentanet camp, and we're going Rakan without Xayah. Now, there is a significant power drop-off in that case, but it also takes it away from Aladoric, which is sort of two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's actually going to be pretty happy with the Galio pick here, though, if I was going to be perfectly honest. Aladoric is someone who has a wealth of champions, but this, to me, it just makes the most sense. The interesting thing here is I think that feels like a Rakan force just away from Aladoric for sure. We know Decoy can play it. There was also the possibility of picking your top lane champion there, waiting for, like, you know, the Galio to be picked and then going, say, Morgana support to try and really nullify his existence. Not the route they choose to go. And Nocturne.
Surely that's got to be Nocturne in the jungle now.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an interesting one. Definitely an interesting one. A lot of global presence on this Peace roster. And Biopanther will go for the Urgot. So nothing too untoward for him. I like this, though, for Peace. It was actually a ban from Pentanet for at least game 1. Might have been in there for game 2 as well. So they've left it open this time, and it hasn't snuck through.
I mean, both teams have a lot of damage. Nocturne is the combo that works with the Galio. Just to be clear, you've got Volibear, you've got Nocturne dashing in. Galio makes that so much even more powerful. The Urgot pick, Urgot was banned when Volley was placed top lane. And I really don't know if they're going to not swap these champions.
I'm keeping an eye on it as well. I haven't, I didn't want to say anything.
I didn't either, but now we're at 15 seconds. Isn't it 20 seconds for the legal swap?
Well, like, if it's not 20, then it's 10. If it's not 20, it's 10. So it's going to have to be. Yeah, I've got confirmation it's 20 seconds, and I can tell you that is a Nocturne top. So we're seeing Appy on Nocturne against Biopanther on Urgot, and Lisa in the jungle on Volibear. So the world is upside down.
Nocturne top lane is a bit of an odd one to me. It was also, I guess, blind picked, but it was a flex pick with a Volibear, so it's an odd flex in that. I guess at the end of the day, they've looked at their matchups and thought Nocturne's better top lane. One of the things that Nocturne can do in top lane, I'm again just assuming it is going to be staying there the whole time, is that you can ult and then teleport. So they don't know where you're teleporting, and then you can have, I think it's like a 2-second window, maybe 1.5-second window to press R the second time after, as long as you're quick on the pulse. We'll obviously get a lot more money and levels in that top lane as well. And I can't say I've ever casted in my life Urgot versus Nocturne top.
Well, did you think you were going to get it in a Game 5 upper bracket final in LCO Split 1? I can bet you the answer there is no. Nocturne and Urgot in the top lane, and it is for a place in the grand final. Both Pentanet and Peace are now on series point, and I can't believe Peace have pulled this one out, but I was hoping for something, and we've got it. We saw a lot of pocket picks, a lot of different picks yesterday, and we haven't really had anything too out of the ordinary today, but Nocturne top, I'm looking forward to seeing how this one goes. It could be int, or it could be fantastic from Appy. It's certainly something we'll be speaking about when we next see Peace play.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think you have a crazy amount of kill threat in this lane if you are the Urgot. The spell shield does a little bit too much, I think, for that. There will be a point in the lane, however, depending on Appy's build, if he goes for like the the tank killing build where Biopanther will just be unstoppable anyway. The thing that stands out to me while we are still highlighting some of these drafts, and before we get into jungle pathing and everything, is that both AD carries aren't necessarily protected. They're going to have to kind of work for themselves, right? Alidoric is comboing with Lisa and Appy if they're going forwards. Rakan can support, but he's also the primary engage of the Pentanet squad. So for these low mobility AD carries that are hyper carries, they really have to position out of their minds of their own accord to survive in team fights.
Could be part of the thought process for Peace, given that they've picked Nocturne this game. Think about a Nocturne getting on top of an Aphelios. What's that Aphelios really going to be able to do? Flash away or try to win the 1v1? Most of the time, if you're an AD carry and a Nocturne ults you, it's bye-bye time, unless you're getting some help.
Yep.
Especially if Appy gets strong.
I think Stride Breaker Nocturne low-key quite good. Just applying the slow and getting some extra burst, especially I think as a top laner, because that's more of a bruiser build for your matchup. So maybe something we see. Of course, the other option is a lethality build, but if you look at his keystone there, going for the Conqueror, I would be much more expecting a bruiser build.
We'll have to wait and find out. Pentanet probably also waiting to find out. Appy's got top lane Prio right now, pushing that wave in. We'll need to be careful in a second, though, because Pabu is pathing up there, and his jungler pathing down bot. I'm sure Appy's well aware of that, though, so he'll just back off, put a ward down, play a bit safer from now on, and see what happens down on the bot side of the map. Interestingly as well, Rusty, here, you can see on the rune page, we do have Predator for Lisa. So that's also a change-up.
Yeah, so usually the options, as far as I know, are Predator and Press the Attack. And we had this discussion before the show, but that was like 17 days ago at this point now. So one of the key features of Predator is you have much more potent early game ganks. At a certain point, though, if you go the Chem Tank build, you don't necessarily need the Predator to still get a gank off. So definitely feels much more about that early game pressure. Early game strength, getting those boots after your first clear and trying to really influence the game, acknowledging the Pabu's probably going to farm a bit faster than you at that point.
Lisa walks his way down to bot. Another very similarly timed gank as what we saw last game. Worked out last time. Flash forward from Alidoric. He's going to get the taunt onto Decoy, but the turnaround is here, and a teleport from Chaz as well. Lands right on top of the Chompers. That might be enough to keep Alidoric safe, and it is. Violet and Lisa will walk away to safety. Halo holds on to teleport and is able to just continue farming up in mid. So who does that favor? Well, bit of presence in the bot lane, bit of presence in the mid lane, bit back and forth. But teleport down for Chaz. So that's a big spell used, but so is Cleanse and Flash for Violet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every summoner spell in bottom lane basically gone there for the side of Peace. The only thing left is Ignite. Flash for Decoy is nice, but he's not the one that they'd want to focus anyway. The big miss is definitely mid lane losing both summoner spells. Charm going wide on the teleport in. The teleport was great, but unfortunately the follow-up was not there, because that could have very easily been First Blood going the way of Pentanet. And, you know, that's not something we have often said in this best of 5. It is usually going the way of Peace. It is usually going the way of Violet and Alidoric. So all things considered, I mean, this is still a favorable swing for Pentanet, even though that didn't work out.
Halo's going to do his best to keep the wave locked in position. Jazz wants to force it under tower so that he can reset. So, bit of game of cat and mouse right now between the mid laners. Halo doesn't actually have that much mana, but he has got 2 biscuits. So he'll be able to sustain himself that way.
They are putting a lot of emphasis on protecting Chaz, but they've just left and there's a Predator gank. Oh, he doesn't actually have boots yet for some reason. Lisa could gank mid.
He does.
That's really odd, actually. I mean, the gank's not going to do anything. 35 jungle CS, 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes into this game, and he hasn't reset for boots.
He's got to now, surely.
How are you going to Predator gank without Predator?
That's a great question that I don't have the answer to. But we do see the supports returning to bot lane. So they've gone on a little bit of a journey, both together, holding hands on their way back. Nice shove in from Peace will give them the opportunity to reset here. Only 517 gold right now for Violet as he resets. So it's going to be good for maybe a longsword, maybe a dagger. Not a whole lot else. Has got the boots too completed already. So it's a bit of a difference in terms of the itemization from Violet versus Praedyth. We've seen Praedyth multiple times opting to go for the full item builds as opposed to the boots.
Yeah.
Whereas with Violet prioritizing boots, wants that mobility and attack speed, I suppose.
Definitely in a similar conversation with those junglers, right? The Merc Tread's now online for Lisa, so boots compared to the components of a jungle item as the primary focus here for Pabu. Top lane, just as a quick check-in with them, Biopanther's been fine. As kind of mentioned, this is more of a nullifying lane. Whoa, bottom.
Aladoric definitely in trouble, but the Nocturne ultimate, he's teleporting down, could be huge, and dives right on top of Praedyth for first blood. Appy making it happen on top lane Nocturne before getting clutched upon by Biopanther's ulti back in return. Halo still sitting pretty in mid, still shoving that wave in, and quite happy to just take the small advantages that he gets from not roaming.
Yeah, Halo, a big fan of just planting his feet in mid lane and not actually helping the bot lane skirmishes. And overall, you know, one credit to Biopanther for one, as he is actually able to get the teleport in early enough just before a Nocturne ultimate comes about. So you see this skirmish, Bio teleports first. So the combo is nice from a Nocturne because it means it's really, like, it's impossible to teleport as a response, right?
Yep.
But Bio is always the first teleporter, it seems, of every top laner in the LCO, definitely gets there first, and it's just going to be a trade back. Bio comprehensively winning that one because he's able to stay on the map anyway.
First blood, though, for Peace, so that'll continue at least. Now, we see a bit of a change up in the top lane. Praedyth, he's caught out. What's happened there? 0, 2, and 1 now for Praedyth, and it comes off the back of essentially now probably 3 to 4 minutes of not being able to do anything. Grey screen and running back to lane for a long time.
Yeah. We'll see how Praedyth gets caught. He is just in top lane. Predator comes in. Lisa's using his ultimate, stops the tower from auto-attacking, just in case they don't get the kill fast enough. And I mean, that's a Nocturne without an ultimate that's able to do that much damage. And this 0-2 Praedyth trend is definitely a worrying trend that we can take note of right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely falling consistently behind, and it's not even just Violet in a 2v2, though that is a significant part of it.
He's been such a strong point for Pentanet during the regular season that doesn't seem to quite be stepping up to the mark for them, at least in the early games.
Team fighting's still great, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is that important caveat. More presence in the top lane, though, from Pentanet as they do float Pabu around there. Needs to be a little careful. Lisa's also top side of the map. Appy doesn't actually manage to spell shield the knock-up from Grand Entrance, and so as a result, he'll cop a lot of damage. Did use it, but it got cancelled by something.
Teleport from the Halo. Just going to receive the top wave. It was a jungler and a support that were there to catch the farm, so... You want to talk about players with red dot syndromes like we discussed earlier in the series. Let me tell you about our Lord and Savior Halo with the red dot.
How many did he actually get out of that, by the way? Was it like, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 CS?
Yeah, about that. Bunch of red minions.
He's literally teleported for that, but he hasn't teleported for the 2 fights in bot. If I'm Violet and Aldoric, I'm just like, come on, man. What? That's not very nice.
Oh, speaking of teleports, there is 2 very good wards for this top lane. Chaz, you can probably watch on the minimap how he wants to play if they push this in.
They found
the
it.
flank is gone, yes. Lisa is required here for that, however. And now they've also spotted the jungler of Peace as a result. So just casual farming will continue. But it does mean that freedom for Pabu exists, as you can see, moving.
Oh,
and
it's
Chaz
cheeky
already
from
has
Lisa.
push.
He's still hanging around. Does he want to reset? Looks like. Okay. All right, the semblance of normalcy then returns, although everything's upside down with the bot lanes being in the top lane.
Yeah, the Australian lanes, as it were. Stride breakers across the board for top laners. That's the next thing to see. Also, they are the members with gold right now, so you do have to closely monitor those teleport timers, which are identical, and what happens in the interim between those, because Nocturne will have ult right now before that teleport is going to be available. So you wouldn't be surprised to see Appy just getting active, you know, looking towards mid lane, trying to stop Chaz from having a good time.
Ooh. Look at these Twitch predictions. That is the closest it's been all day.
Yeah.
It was something like 60% for Pentanet last game. It seemed that Peace hadn't really done enough to convert the masses, but now almost 50-50. And I agree, that's kind of where things are sitting at the moment. It's kind of hard to say exactly which way this matchup is going to go. Peace with a slim advantage.
Yeah, like they had a slim advantage constantly. It has been genuinely difficult to predict the outcomes of these ones, because it's a case of like, will Peace get an early lead? The answer has been mostly yes all the time. What will they do with those leads? And does that result in them snowballing the game out? That's the part that has been inconsistent for them. Because if they don't get what was about a 5,000 gold lead, they start to really struggle to close the game out. Even with that 5k lead, they struggled at moments to close.
Could be especially problematic with a Nocturne top, you know, just it sort of changes your game plan a little bit, I feel like. And so they're doing something a bit non-standard that if push comes to shove, when we get to those, you know, those 50-50 late game fights, maybe a small minor error in execution or just a champion gap at the end of the day could be a factor. Violet's been put to sleep, but Cleanse will wake him back on up, and there's a good tank from Aladoric, just gets right in the face of a couple of players, trying his best to keep Violet alive, but 4 players in bot, and nothing that Peace can do about it.
Yeah, Chaz once again so fast on the teleport to assist his team, in complete contrast to Halo, who has to stay in mid lane. Herald charge going to happen in top as well. So they're getting money on their solo laners here. Peace doing the best that they can. But the bottom laners are sacrificed in the process. Pabu finally getting himself active and on the board. And much more successful this time around. The traps are really good here from Violet, as was the cleanse. And Aladoric, unfortunately, in the attempts to save his AD carry, he did everything he possibly could. Just not really going to have a chance to do enough when there's 4 people there and they've got enough crowd control to lock you down.
Almost looked good for Violet and Aladoric, but as you say, only so much can be done. But in the meanwhile, you know, the Rift Herald was up in top. Pentanet did lose their tower, and they also allowed a second charge to go through onto the inner top tower. Mid was chunking through some plates as well. So Halo's finished off his Everfrost, and Appy should be pretty close. Oh, there, he has finished off the Stride Breaker, so there you go. 2 big items completed. Same can be said for the top laners of Pentanet, though. Top laners, top laner and mid laner, I should say.
Yeah, I think one major point of difference here is that Pabu's prioritized the Verdant Barrier, having a bit of extra magic resistance in his build. Probably still wants to go for the Zhonya's Hourglass Rush, so it's a very defensive itemization build here by Pabu overall. And one of the problems with that is that right now Lisa has a full item and a full Predator, so he's max usefulness with item spikes. And Verdant Barrier also got nerfed on patch 11.6, so we're seeing it half as effective as it were before. And in terms of magic damage dealers on the other side, Volibear is a lot of magic damage, just to be clear. So it's not a bad choice into a Volley and a Victor. It's just not as effective as it was.
Yeah, even the Chem Tank does a bit of magic damage. Worth noting, the Seeker's Arm Guard also copped the nerf, didn't it? So
yeah,
it'll be a much slower ramp up for Pabu if he does go Seeker's Arm Guard next. This time it's going to be Rift Herald for Pentanet. No chance of a contest down in bot is the jungler of Peace.
They're completely free. Also, I believe spotted on Vision was Lisa. You can look at Biopanther on the map right now. He's gone way out of there. They are not looking to defend that bottom lane outer turret at all. In fact, with this Herald take, there's a world where you just place it top lane to try and match the tempo of Peace. To try and make sure that you're still trading turrets. As he'll probably do.
So unsteady here from Chaz, but he's getting through that tower. In the meanwhile, Nocturne's having a good time, and so is Lisa. Dives underneath the turret, and there's a knock-up to try and defend Decoy with a grand entrance, but realistically, you're not saving Praedyth there. Violet suffering from a lack of peel. Babu dives right on top of him and says thank you very much for the freebie, but now is in a spot of bother of his own. Appy forced to flash the wall, and that is going to leave Halo high and dry, and BioPanther will snake that kill for himself. Pentanet with a big, big turnaround. 7-3 now, and gold lead is about to go in their favor as well.
And once again, you see the attempt onto Praedyth. Successful, of course, he does go down, but BioPanther, once again, fast on the teleport hands means that there's no Nocturne ultimate going to stop him from doing that at all. We'll see this one more time. Lisa ults over the wall, deactivates the turret, and while Decoy is there on the flank to try and help, he's not going to be able to do enough. But you can see teleport comes into match, and now they're just stuck between two turrets. Stride Breaker used by BioPanther to make sure that you cannot use the Justice Punch as a Galio. Pabu obviously covering the flank, still with a stopwatch ready if it comes to it. And Chaz gets here. Doesn't get here first necessarily this time. Halo is ready to fight, but has a much larger impact.
Well, down in the bot lane, this isn't a replay. Lisa has found Praedyth again. And, I mean, I don't know at this point. I think his name needs to change to Preyed Upon because he has been getting absolutely ganked over and over and over by Lisa.
Yeah, still with no flash there, so very easy to actually pick apart. We speak about this in draft, though, to be fair, right? Like, what is an AD carry like Aphelios doing in his own composition right now? He's not protected. And a similar thing could be said about Violet. He's 0-2. Praedyth 1-4. Draft checks out in terms of how things have been playing out right now.
There's a little bit of a skirmish going on in top lane that I don't think will result in too much. BioPanther and Halo were chucking a few abilities at one another, but they do disperse. Mid lane push is looking good here for Peace. They want to take this tower before Dragon comes up, but Aladoric, has he stuck around too long? He's been put to sleep. Pabu having an impact, but smashed in the face by Lisa. Violet doesn't have mana for Super Mega Death Rocket, though I'm not sure it was going to be enough. Zonya's still available for Pabu.
A nice little pick there, actually, by Pentanet.gg. Now 8-4 in kills. Another opportunity, actually, here for Lisa, but it's unlikely it'll follow through.
It's going to be an awkward Dragon fight for Peace. Violet throws the Super Mega Death Rocket through. It does a bit of damage. Here comes Paranoia. That's the big focus point. Appy getting locked up, but his damage is just too great. And the shield comes through from Sterax as well, making him look quite healthy indeed. But if he overcommits, it's so easy for Chaz. I don't even think he had the spell shield
Bio
available.
has ult ready. If he
Lisa
looks for a snipe here under Lisa.
I don't want to see him die to the to the Dragon. The snipe was there, but doesn't connect. It's tanked by Violet, who's looking very, very slow. Okay, let's reset. Dragon goes over to Peace. I would say a slight fight win for them.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, it was 4-8 in kills, now 6-9. So the 2-for-1 in the Dragon, you could call it a 3-for-1 trade. Violet definitely positioning fantastically in these skirmishes as well. But it just feels like, you know, Lisa goes in, Appy goes in, Aladoric follows with the ultimate. Will obviously happen in future. And that's a deadly combo for the carries of Pentanet. Weathering that storm is probably the key to success here, or getting picks before the fight even happens is the way to go. Praedyth, I would not be surprised if this is a game where if I was him, I would even consider building, unironically, Azonia's Hourglass. Just survive, you know? Because he's going to die otherwise.
Any AP scaling? Yes. Severum has AP scaling.
I would go out of my way to have these Zonias active at all costs. Jordan, at all costs.
Mate, it can grant him 13% of damage dealt with this weapon right now from his AP scaling.
That's a number.
Oh, no, that's actually his health scaling. I'm reading it wrong. There actually is no AP scaling.
I'm
going crazy. I'm going crazy. Okay, how about this? 20% extra move speed on Severum. It can get increased by AP scaling. So there you go. You get a bit of extra move speed.
We found the silver lining on why he needs the desperately bad Zonia's Hourglasses at Aphelios. The rest of his team's doing wonderfully, though. particularly by the scoreboard. When you're looking at those item completions as well, Biopanther's an absolute monster. And if there's anyone I'd want on my team to be fed in the LCO, it's Biopanther. He has actually 1v9 games before, even as a top laner.
Yep.
Not many other top laners can say they've done that. Appy rather, would be probably the closest in comparison.
Well, speaking of Appy, Paranoia thrown in. They've spotted Praedith again, and they say, here's a surprise package for you. Lisa in there. Aladoric lands on top, but Chaz comes from behind and starts pumping damage into all of Peace. That is not looking like it's going to turn out too kindly at all. Peace with the collapse. You got to enjoy the all-in from Peace, but Pentanet having a bit of fun.
I genuinely believe at this point in the game that's back-to-back. Peace have killed the Aphelios, and I am happy for them, but they've lost the fight when they've killed the Aphelios. Maybe they reassess the game plan here, because it's definitely not the way to win Game 5 in the best of 5 if it keeps backfiring. The strategy is sound, right? AD carry gone, you should be okay. But Biopanther's always nearby. He's always so prepared to actually get into the fight. Teleport comes in yet again. Every teleport that he's used has been money. And they get an advantageous trade. It's a 4-0-1 top laner and a 3-0 mid laner here for Pentanet. Yes, Praedith is 2-6. Maybe he's tilted. At this point, I wouldn't even be tilted because my team keeps killing them for me. I'm just happy.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Take a step back, jump in the backpack. Let Chaz and Biopanther take this game away. So I wonder if we'll see a bit more of a focus onto maybe someone like Chaz. Doesn't have a Zhonya's yet. Of course, he does have the 3 charges of Spirit Rush, which is going to make getting away from a Nocturne easier than it might be for anyone else. But even still, the upfront damage might just be enough to blow the Ahri up if you can get a good engage.
I mean, yeah, she hasn't gone for Zhonya's in her build, so Ahri's definitely killable. Mobility, obviously, like you mentioned, makes it hard, but killable. Crowd control is the weirdest thing about Peace's comp, and, you know, one of the maybe downfalls of it is that their crowd control isn't straightforward. It's not an Ornn ult, it's not a Rakan engage. You know, it's not something that is guaranteed to connect. It is a Galio that has to wind up before he lands. You could flash taunt, I suppose. That's one thing worth pointing out, but Nocturne.
Oh, here we go again. It's onto Biopanther this time. The Paranoia turning out decisions skyward as Aladoric is able to get the taunt through. But yeah, I mean, okay, cool. Biopanther walks away on half HP, and you've used a very, very big ultimate and a flash from Aladoric as well. This seems like a recipe for disaster for Peace if they start a fight now without a Nocturne ult.
Yeah, your eyes are on a Lily asleep. Perhaps a charm from Chaz if it connects on the right target. They want the fight, though.
Yeah, Lisa goes low. Oh, speaking of, Lilia gets caught out. There's no time for Zhonya. In the end, Pabu dies early on in the fight, and maybe there's a chance now for Peace. Appy charging forward, does use the spell shield nicely. And you'd have to think maybe there's a chance for Peace. Violet's just desperately trying to hit Dragon so he can get some lifesteal, but this is not going well for Peace at all. They're so low across the board. Decoy survives on 1 HP. Halo has to find a way to man mode this for his team. And at least he does enough to kind of keep Pentanet at bay. What a messy fight.
Yeah, very messy. There's no way that you could actually contest this one, I think, from this point if you're Peace. Nocturne engaging onto an Urgot before the fight even starts. He's still alive. He's 5-0. Praedith survives in this fight because they do try to prioritize other targets, which, again, a sound strategy. But Chaz got like 7 rotations of charms off. And that's the worst case scenario against an Ahri. If 7 charms in a row, I'm just picking a big number, connects. Because they're just going to be able to influence the fight so much. Everfrost, Ahri with charm, twice the amount of crowd control coming out. And the amount of picks that they get, like the reason Appy goes down, stuck in the Dragon Pit, charm hits, lights out.
It's getting more and more difficult for Peace. If Appy can't find a target to blow up at the start of the fight, it feels lost. Even with the kill early on to Pabu. He didn't get Lullaby out, he didn't get Zhonya out.
Yeah, they can afford to lose Pabu though, right? Like they can afford to lose Pabu. They can afford to lose Praedith as long as Biopanther and Chaz are just raid bosses.
Sure.
On the other side, like, we're so used to seeing Violet have to be the carry for this team, but it's a 0-3 Jinx this game. So the uncharacteristic Peace performance means that they're going to have to go above and beyond, whereas we've seen Pentanet win games through the carries that are currently fed.
That was actually a storyline that I brought up with you while we were waiting for that first game was, okay, yes, we've seen the ability for Pentanet across the board. If one player needs to step up, they can do it. But hasn't quite been so much the storyline for Peace. Happy has had his moments, sure, but have we seen Halo or Lisa just really hard carry a game?
Sporadically.
Maybe in some instances, yes, but it's a confidence level there right now for all of those that put their channel points on Peace. Halo is 3-1. Lisa is 3-1. Appy's got 3 kills as well. These are the ones that have got the money. They're the ones that need to do the work. Violet just has to fend for himself and do his best. Lisa forced away by the control ward. Violet does just avoid a seed.
Just to caveat that point, I think the most important part of that is that I haven't seen Halo carry a game if he's the only fed person on the team. We've seen Peace snowball, right? Like, we've seen Lisa carry a game, but usually the team's doing fine and he's just the fed person. This is one of those situations where, like, Halo and Lisa are strong. Appy has a lot of money. We haven't often seen Violet be a 0-3 player. So to see them carry with this would be impressive. And if they do win in this situation, even more credit to them because they are deserving of being in the finals and going up against the winner of, you know, a week from now, their opponents.
Here's 50 CS up on Praedyth. So there is that. Down a couple of kills and assists, but he's overall up in gold by a very tiny amount. So at least Violet is kind of sticking in there.
Yeah, also compositionally, just to quickly talk about, you know, team fight ins and outs a little bit here. Violet, if he gets excited on the Jinx, they get a kill. It's very easy to still team fight his Jinx, even though he's not supported in the comp. Can't be said the same thing for Praedyth, who's a bit more reliant on Rakan assisting him. But the original point that I wanted to make a few minutes ago is the engage and the crowd control of Peace is a bit like, it's so difficult to actually just guarantee that it will connect. You need a flash on a volley bear to actually hit someone with your Q, to then have a Galio come in, you know, Nocturne while he can ult and turn the lights out. Still needs to hit a taunt that has charge up time. Victor stun requires charge up time with them sitting inside it. It's not the easiest execution in terms of their comp. They've got the mechanics to do it for sure. They are still against a pretty fed group of opponents that have a decent amount of mobility, bar Praedyth, to get out.
Yeah. Jazz is feeling like such a menace at the moment. 10 stacks on the Dark Seal as well. Love to see that turn into a Mage Eyes and see where we go from there. At the moment, he's on for a fully stacked Mage Eyes if he goes for it. Lisa might have found an opening here, but Decoy is not really the target that you want to be taking. He's going to get out of there every day of the week.
Oh.
Ooh. Pause. So I wonder what that is going to be.
The really tense moment for a pause to happen, isn't it? It's a very tragic circumstance. You know, we're 47 seconds until the Mountain Dragon spawns. It's sole point for Pentanet as well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of thoughts brewing, let's just say, between both teams right now.
I can tell you this is probably not going to last too long, Rusty. It was just a headset issue, and it seems to be sorted. So we'll be going back into game in just a second, which is great news. Not a lot of time to think, but certainly some few tense moments that's going to build the suspense up a little bit, make the nerves a little bit stronger heading into what will now be the next Dragon fight. 35 seconds as we reset ourselves back on Summoner's Rift.
I had to swap glasses, by the way. Don't know if you saw that, but we've gone so long with these headsets on that I've had to swap to the thin frames.
Hurting your ears?
Getting very tense on and off the Rift.
Yeah. I've heard much the same issues from other glasses wearers. So Pabu and Appy having a bit of a wander around in the topside river. While the rest of Peace is looking at mid, Chaz decides now is a good time to teleport into mid as well, just to ensure that he is there for the fight. Now, everything online on both sides. The only thing that we're really missing is a teleport for Chaz. There's flashes on every single player, ultimates on every single player.
Well, he's looking.
Lisa's looking for the engage. Appy has used Paranoia, but hasn't gone for the R2, and that is huge. That is a huge cooldown for Peace to be losing right now. It means he's just going to have to run that Pentanet, and there's no way you want to be doing that as Nocturne. Look at the dancing from Pentanet right now. It's a shuffle, and they have completely bamboozled Peace. Pentanet looking for an engage, maybe off the back of Pabu there, but I don't think the Lullaby was actually available. Appy now focused down. Biopanther low.
Dead.
If he dies, this could be the turn that Peace are looking for, but it's only Aladoric that felt the same. Everyone else on Peace was too low.
Yeah, it just disperses. You've still got Praetor looking.
Yeah, he's gone forward. Oh my god, that damage! Where did all that come from? Double kill for Praetor, and that's big.
Yeah, I mean, you can't sleep on Praetor's damage. He still comes in the team fight king as we have seen of him. Even in this series, he could be 0-7. He'll still find a way to team fight successfully. Baron now on the cards for Pentanet. That was a very tense team fight. It was forced by Peace, but their lack of solid engage makes it so difficult to navigate into an Everfrost Ari with charms constantly hitting. They find the picks. And we'll see the Baron go down as we watch this fight one more time. Chaz actually separated from the team, ults over the wall. Very smart decision.
There's the sleep, by the way.
Yeah, Lilia sleep hits a single target. Look at the follow-up from Chaz, right? Lisa, basically out of the fight. Decoy doesn't even find the engage. They're just zoning each other. But at the same time, Praetor has been freely hitting. Pabu goes for the play. And it's just messy. It's looking for this defining moment. Bio flashing forwards, looking for the moment himself, stuck in the Chaos Storm. 850 gold goes the way of Halo. But at the same time, you know, nothing Lisa can do, or Aladoric rather can do, is he's turned into drumsticks there. And it just becomes the Praetor show. He's still got the shurikens, he's still got the snipe as well. So lots of range ready for him and able to get those kills.
Can I just point out those 2 kills for Praetor as well? A 300 gold shutdown on Lisa and a 200 gold shutdown on Halo. So that's a huge cash injection for him. Now 4-6-7. And he's starting to look pretty scary. 3 items on Aphelios. 3 items also completed for Violet. So both of these late game scaling 80 carries are starting to come online.
They absolutely are. And most importantly, Baron, ready to go for Pentanet. You know, a team staring down the barrel of their first series best-of-5 defeat in their first best-of-5 series played.
Paranoia
ultimate. Wow.
did nothing.
That's big, actually. It means that it's a lot easier now to push. Praetor is much more safe, even though he doesn't have flash.
Well, this might well be an inhibitor. A few question mark pings into the mid lane from Pentanet as they walk their way into Peace's base. Really uncontested. You can tell that Peace are in dire straits now.
Yeah, they struggle to play from behind. And we've seen this repeatedly, you know. If the game starts to shift the way of Pentanet.gg, they can snowball into the win, but this is a desperate must-win moment.
Certainly is. Chaz looks for the charm, but it was spell shielded by Appy, so we're okay for now on the Peace side. That tower is going down pretty quickly, and as soon as Pentanet get players in position to hit it, it's going to go down even quicker. Biopanther's forced away, but there's still 1 siege creep that's just going to be ticking away. Slowly but surely, and Biopanther decides now or never. He dives in, so too does Decoy, and Appy charmed up, can't go anywhere. Aladoric, grand entrance, will not manage to do a whole lot. That is surely going to be it. Violet and Halo desperately trying to fight under the Nexus towers, but Biopanther will not be denied, and Praetor follows suit. That is an ace. That is Pentanet hitting the Nexus towers, and that is going to be Pentanet getting rid of the Nexus as well. Chaz cheering, happy, clapping, and you cannot say that Pentanet were not made to work for it, but they will go through to the grand final as first seed. A 3-2 today, and certainly there's going to be some sighs of relief in the Pentanet camp this evening.
It wasn't perfect, but they definitely earned their place in the finals later this split. Fantastic performance in the last game coming out of them, and I mean 100% pushed to their absolute limits. I'd hate to be the team that has to go up against Peace in the lower bracket run, because we've just seen the makings of a final preview right there. with a ridiculously good showing from the roster of Peace. But at the end of the day, PGG too strong. You can kill Praetor as much as you want, but there's a raid boss in mid lane, there's a raid boss in top lane, and BioPanther and Chaz, they get it done.
And you're not going to stop Praetor from scaling either way. Let's bring Mac back into the conversation. I'm sure he's got a lot to say about that one. You got exactly what you wanted, Mac. You got a volley bear. You got a Nocturne top. It feels like your perfect dream scenario, but Peace couldn't pull it off today.
I was just waiting for you guys to mention it at that draft position as well, where, you know, Appy was just sitting on the Nocturne and you're both sort of just like looking around, kind of quiet. And you're like, I didn't want to say anything, but are they going to swap or not? And I don't know, like in hindsight, do you think Volley would have been a little bit stronger in the top lane, or were you happy with that Noct? You know, it did manage to at least get the first blood and then provide some good assistance in a couple of team fights, but then towards the end, it was just way too squishy.
Yeah, I think the Nocturne top was fine.
Yeah.
My quarrel with it, I believe, is that they've gone for like this Nocturne Volley Bear flex, where I just wish they had some kind of more guaranteed engaged source, because you could see how desperately they were trying to force things, right? Like it's great in laning phase, you get front to back team fights, and suddenly it didn't feel as great. The whole comp, not just the Nocturne.
Yeah, it went really well for Pentanet there. You know, even if one of these fights, I don't think it was this one in particular, but when Praedith just pulled out the sniper, it was this one actually. And it's just like, whoa, that range, okay, a little bit of damage here, a little bit of damage there, some for you, some for him, and well, see you all bloody later. And just like that, off the back of it, Baron off the back of it, Peace fall down. It was just the perfect ending that Pentanet wanted. And what a bloody series. If we get this again in the grand finals, I will not complain for a second.
Yeah, definitely not. This was certainly, I mean, it was worthy of a grand final almost, but obviously we've still got that yet to come, so we can only hope that the grand final is going to do as much to deliver, or hopefully even more. There's a good chance we see these two teams through in the grand final as well. I mean, at least today, Peace have proven that yesterday wasn't a fluke. They've been able to come into today, have a good consistent performance at a really high level, and they've almost beaten Pentanet. So it makes me hopeful that if we do see this rematch later on in a couple of weeks' time, that we are going to be seeing Peace really push Pentanet. I mean, we have yet to obviously see what Direwolves can throw in, what Chiefs can throw in from their match as well, so maybe there's a curveball to come from that. But overall, good signs for a great grand final in LCO Split 1.
Mate, you said in a couple of weeks. The grand final's next week. How quick has that gone?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Look, time, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
who cares
it doesn't
about
matter.
time?
It doesn't matter when it is.
It's good.
But
And it's
gonna
good
be
to
good.
see. So, you guys were questioning, you know, that Rakan support pick without the Zaya. Do you think it went better than planned, or better than you expected, at least going into this game?
Oh, I don't think it went better than expected. I think it went as expected, realistically. You know, a lot of this game was about the solo laners, and you have to remember there were so many support bans that what more could they do? What more could Alidoric and Decoy do but survive? I think the Galio was something that was comfortable for Alidoric, and we saw Decoy was pushed to his absolute limits with support picks.
Oh, it certainly was something, and someone we haven't heard from a while is Nat. You've been down on the sidelines. We almost forgot about you. Come on in here. Tell us what you thought about that game.
I was on the edge of my seat. Like, I can't even explain how much I really wanted Pentanet to win. Like, I think Peace absolutely played out of their mind today, but I don't know. I really wanted to see the Pentanet boys like pull it back and win it in this game 5. So everything was looking like kind of downhill, and then they just brought it back, and I was ecstatic for them.
Oh, it feels good for Pentanet, you know, managing to bring it back when they did, keeping it as close and entertaining as possible for us. Who do you have down on the sidelines, by the way, for the postgame?
I have asked Pabu to join me for the post-game interview. Look, Pabu, there is a lot going on. We're going to try our best to break it down. But congratulations, first of all, for winning this series. Absolutely insane. Talk me through Game 5, because you must have been extremely nervous.
It's like we realized that the game was honestly pretty simple. They don't do that much early game, so you just pick champions with longer range and you win the game. Like, we realized like after the second game that like if we can't fight them like head to head, it's going to be a hard game for us. Like, we weren't playing well enough in our early sequences to blow up in the game, so we knew like as soon as we had champions that we were comfortable piloting into them in team fights, like it was pretty chill. Like, everyone was just like, yep, we messed this up. Let's win the next fight. Like, we won this fight, easy. Let's do it again. Like, it was like pretty relaxed, honestly. Like, it's high stress, of course, and I'm like shaking a little bit, but for sure we were super chill going to that game. We had like a good plan, and like we're happy with the plan, and we needed to bring it home.
Well, I'm very impressed. I do have a few questions about the drafts throughout the series. I'm going to ask about the Akali top pick first of all, and also the Volley Bears, and also how Seraphine was always banned against you guys. How did those make you feel?
It's pretty funny that they were banning Seraphine. I guess they don't trust themselves to play the game early game, and they think scaling's broken. So I guess that's kind of the same as us, but they definitely didn't have faith in being able to close out the games early, so they had to chuck that ban. And then Akali is kind of just like, I don't know, it's a comfort team fighting pick, and we really pulled some team fights like out of nowhere out in that game. But we realized that we're much better at just playing the front to back, and so we slam like the long range. And Volibear is, I don't know, after his buff, he clears super healthily, and he's, I don't know, just another chem tank abuser. You stun some carries. Like, I don't know, it's just like he's just kind of like similar to Udyr, except he farms less good, and he has like more potential at 6 because he can disable the towers and stuff. So I don't know, it's just a pretty good champion right now, especially if you want to play a bit more early game. But for sure, the scaling was the key in these games.
With game 2, if you can remember that far back, it seemed you guys were having a little bit of a comeback, but you ultimately like ended up losing it. How were you guys feeling through that one, and what were the communications? Because I felt like there was really potential for you guys to come back.
We weren't super happy with the draft, so like we knew it was always going to be hard, and we definitely like blew open the game super early. But the fact that we were able to like bring it back with a composition that really shouldn't have any avenues back into the game versus theirs, and like just kind of, we played really well, and we made the game go to like 35-40 minutes when it should have been over in 15, was like, we knew that if we put ourselves in a good position going into the game, we will win the game. So it was almost like a confidence boost. Like, the fact that we didn't make the comeback kind of sucks, and it would have been cool, but the fact that we could get that far, like, gave us a lot of confidence going into the next game.
How hard was it to reset between all of these games, especially after losing 2 games back to back?
It is like a bit hard, but when you have changes that you want to make, like we swapped the Xayah ban in, and we make sure that we private Victor so we can outrange, like, we were still super confident in our team fighting them, even when we're like copping losses. So as long as we got champions that could outrange and we could like play the game front to back, we were still super confident we could win. So we just made sure we changed the draft so that we had like a bit more comfortable compositions, and it wasn't easy, of course, but we were maximum chilling for sure.
My last question I do want to ask you is, out of the remaining teams, who are you most excited, or who do you want to verse the most in the grand final?
Well, I think we're gonna verse Peace. They're just kind of like an arm and a leg above every other team right now. Direwolves looked really bad. I had a lot of faith in the Direwolves, but I don't know, they let me down a bit. I thought that they were gonna put up a better fight, and maybe they can next week, but when they play again. But if Direwolves like play against Peace again like that, I'm expecting them to have to bring it back against Peace.
Well, congratulations again on making it to the finals, and thank you so much for walking me through that series.
Thanks, Nat.
There you go. So, nice little bit of insight there, and I'm surprised he managed to get through an interview that was of that stature after such a long game. That was 5 hours of League, pretty much, which is pretty crazy considering the other best of 5s yesterday only went for about 2 hours apiece, because the 3 maps were also short. So I think we were blessed. I don't know if you guys casting the game felt like it was a blessing with the really long endurance testers, but Rusty, what are your thoughts on it going into, I guess, the lower bracket next week?
I'm still caught up on the fact that Pabu sounds more European the longer the interview goes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys heard that, but he starts off real Aussie. He's like, yeah, you gave it our best. And then the last question is like, yeah, we really have to do our best, guys. Every single time.
I totally heard it.
Gonna make a comment on that, and it's not even like the interview. Sometimes when he just has a long answer, it'll start off so Australian, and then all of a sudden he'll be just going so European at the end, and I'm like, I don't know if I should roast him for this or if like this is just something I shouldn't bring up.
No, he's just the 6th player on the Mad Lions. He's a massive LEC fanboy, so don't be too surprised. I think he's actually corrupted the rest of the team as well. They've got some European accents in there now. Looking at you, Chaz.
All right, so that brings us towards the end of the day. We've had a bit of a chinwag, but again, we need to talk about the best plays of the day or the play of the day. Now, let's hear from you guys quickly. Don't look at Discord because you might play spoiler. What do you think the play of the day is? Jordan, we'll start with you first.
I've already looked at Discord,
No!
so I can't. I'm afraid I can't answer this. I already know. To be honest, Matt, there was so many to choose from. It was a crazy day. I mean, you get a best of 5 that goes to all 5. It could really be anything. So I feel sorry for the guys that didn't get it. Put it that way.
Yeah, all right. Well, any standout plays that you know? Actually, no, then you'll play spoiler. Anyway, Rusty, you tell me your play of the day.
Dude, my head's so empty. I'm just so hungry. I'm just going to say it was a fight at Baron because I feel like there was a bunch of cool stuff that happened at Baron.
Yep.
I completely forget, dude.
There's a lot of little sneaky Baron steals, Baron fights, Baron chomps. What about you, Nat? Any standout plays?
Not overly. Like, I think there was a good triple kill from, I'm gonna say, Praedyth. My memory, I don't fully remember. Like I said, I was looking at stats, but I'll take a gamble at a game. It was in game 4.
In game 4?
Yep.
Okay, well, you're wrong. It was actually map 2, and it was Violet with a big quad kill up behind the Baron pit. So let's bring it up, have a look again. And we don't have Jubes here to cast it today, so I don't know, Rusty, you want to give us your best play-by-play with your lack of energy?
Nah.
Or? Nah?
Catch me not play by playing back. It's too late for this.
Wait. I've learned something from Juice. He goes in and goes, and then he goes down. He hunts him down, and all Biopanther thinks he's going to go away, but Violet's coming for him. He's hunting him down, and what's that? Lisa's on top of him. He's pushed him back, and he's just handed it straight to Violet.
You got to plug Space Jam in there. Or you're
Oh,
not
Space
fused
Jam,
as well.
Wham Jam. What's the other thing he says?
Slam
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's coming out soon.
Welcome to the Jam. Great movie. But yeah, look, Violet really putting on a big performance as well today, even though they did end up copying the L, which I'm sure he's going to be a bit disappointed about. And something that was different, you know, from Violet in that final game was he died a lot. And that's not something we're used to seeing. Violet's one of the best at staying alive in the LCO. Him and Praedyth, you know, both with, I would say, not their best performances, not until towards the end of the match there for Praedyth did he really warm up. But again, you know, shout outs to Violet for the play of the day. The earlier games there were where he really shone. But it seems like maybe the endurance, maybe just playing League for 5 hours isn't a good way, or maybe it's a good way to test yourself, you know, and they might have to do it again, at least 2 more times.
I mean, let's be real. These guys are playing League of Legends 5 hours a day regardless. They probably played 5 hours a day already. That's what I'm saying, you know, like it's that's their life, Mac. You know, you play 5 hours a day of League of Legends.
Me?
So it can't be that hard.
No, I would never do that. I'm an appropriate person that doesn't
Mac's
spam
too busy working
League of
hard.
Legends. Don't
That's
look
why he's still in bronze, because he hasn't taken Jube's advice to quit his work in full-time League.
Truer words have definitely been spoken.
Don't look at OPGG, and I dare say you'll see how many hours of League I play a day. And anyway, we do have another play of the day, or player to be more exact. And do you want to take any guesses? Or
I
we just gonna
mean,
jump
it has to be Biopanther or Chaz, in my opinion. I don't think either of them had a really bad game for Pentanet. So, I mean, it kind of comes down to, okay, who won the series? If it's Peace, it's probably Violet or Aladoric or both. If it's Pentanet, it's Biopanther or Chaz. I think Chaz probably takes it, just based off that last game. So that would be my guess.
Okay, and the other two. Any thoughts in this, or Rusty, you're still empty in the head?
What are we talking about?
Exactly. Nat, all right, what about you?
I'm going to say Biopanther.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he
Okay.
had just really good engages, initiations, and things like that for Pentanet to come back.
Well, there you go. You're both on the money. Rusty, not so much today. But Biopanther, congratulations. He is our player of the series with a big performance, especially in the last game. We've only got 3. We've got the space for 3 games here, but there certainly was 5. And, we actually have another slide coming up. Okay, so we can check for the end part as well. And there you go. Game 5, 8-1-5, doing a spectacular job to essentially be player of the series and close that final game out. You could see at the end as well, doing a big job in the team fights, tanking so much damn damage, and then just damage to the structures as well was key.
I do want to say in Game 3, Biopanther had 100% kill participation, and it looks good. It's a great stat, but they did only get 9 kills that game. So...
Well, you know, you got to be in it to win it, right? And I guess it's a bit of a stat pad, you know, at least boosting the kill participation. Rusty, you got a cheeky smile on your face. What do you want to say?
I just thought it was funny, the stat, because Nat stats have got this like secret burn in them. You never actually know if she's going to be nice or mean with the stat. You just know there's a stat involved.
It's the backhand compliment.
Ooh, Nat, come on.
Can't give them too much praise for winning the best of 5.
You can't show them the back of your hand with the compliments. It's kind of a little bit sour. Anyway, let's have a recap of the bracket, where we're at, where we're going, and where we've bloody been. All right, so yesterday, of course, Dire Wolves losing to Peace and going down to the lower bracket to face Chiefs, who knocked Order out. Now we have to find out who is going to be knocked out between Dire Wolves and Chiefs and who's moving forward to take on Peace. And then in that upper bracket final, which we just witnessed, the 5-hour bloody extravaganza, you got Pentanet winning 3-2. Peace now down in that lower bracket. And I feel like this lower bracket final is a place for Peace to shine and really put their foot down and say, we deserve everything. We want a shot at the title again against Pentanet. But we got to get past Dire Wolves and Chiefs first. And that's going to be an interesting one as well, because Dire Wolves yesterday, kind of lackluster, Rusty. Chiefs, though, really impressing us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dire Wolves have a point to prove, right? They've had a couple of days now. They'll be able to have some rest and try and work out what went wrong for them, because if they beat the Chiefs, they have to go up against the Peace that 3-0'd them to even have a chance at the finals. So everything to prove for Dire Wolves and for the Chiefs. Honestly, I think it's make the dream run, right? We're looking at a lower bracket start. We're going to see if the miracle could actually happen, because that's an uphill battle every step of the way.
I was going to say that,
Yes.
sorry to jump in. I want to see a Chiefs Cinderella story. I want to see them starting down there in the lower bracket and just making a run for it. I know realistically it might not be possible, but I would love to see it.
Look, before you go too much further, this is the perfect segue. I'm looking at a Cinderella story, or being told we have one right here. We got Dragku dressed in drag, looking like Cinderella. Oh my lord, look at those biceps. Look at those, ooh, those glutes. They're just sticking out there, aren't they? Good flexing with the tweet.
The
I might even
eyeliner is
swipe
on
right.
point. He's done well.
It's all over. I actually did jump into that stream. They were doing the co-stream on, I think it's Kitty's stream as well. So, you know,
That makes a lot
shout-outs.
of sense right now. Okay.
Yeah. You want to clear some stuff up for us here, Rusty? You seem to have a good grasp on the situation.
Of this?
Yes.
I think the grasp is he's dressing up like Kitty. That's my assumption.
I like, by the way, the guy in Twitch chat that's going, he has too much of a dump truck.
It's true, though. It's true. Look, he certainly has that dump track, doesn't he? Good job, Dragku. I hope he's still watching. And, you know,
we have a
bathing-
jackhammer and a dump truck now with the LCO, right?
Wait, who is the jackhammer?
Was it Jungle Man?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
right. Of course. Now, pretty much getting all the boys together and I guess, you know, getting ready to go to site, work for the weekend, and then come back next week with more LCO. So before we do that, any final words to clear things up here after probably the greatest game we've seen so far in the LCO?
Hope we get a greater one in the grand final.
Goodbye. And Nat, any final words?
No, everyone enjoy the Easter. If you're celebrating it, play some League, watch some League VODs of only the LCO and no other League VODs.
Ooh, ooh. You've been called out. Now, Rusty, I know you've got a plate of food probably waiting for you. You look like you're ready to bloody dig in.
Yes, he does.
So let's wrap this up. Ladies and gents, we'll see you again next Tuesday with much more LCO action. Lower bracket final, or lower brackets is what's on the menu. So let's dig our teeth in and enjoy your weekend. See you then.
It should be a little bit easier for Peace to do so because they still have their tower. Chaz, he's gone straight in, but he cops a Leona ultimate to the face. Oh, dearie me. Peace are going to turn this fight on its head. Want to go for it. Showstopper does get Abby into the mix, but realistically, That was nothing short of death for him, regardless of the situation. Violet tries to put some damage down, so does Halo. They just don't have it there at all, and Pentis, they held on to a lot. Onslaught of Shadows, everything still available. Featherstorm
Chaz.
even, and that's used by Violet to survive. Oh, never mind, I've lied, everybody. It's a complete ace by Pentanet. That's doing it himself, has the Chrono Storm available on top of him. He's going to survive for now. And the knock-up is great. Played it, done. Surely this is Peace's chance now. Violet, a double kill, continues to auto-attack uncontested. And in the end, gets a triple. Will chase BioPanther down as well, looking for that quad, but it does not matter who it goes to. Might have kept him alive here, does have the Zhonyas as well, but needs backup and needs it desperately. Have they overcommitted for this kill on Praetor? He's still alive, still kicking, still firing. Violet now in the thick of things, and all of a sudden, Praetor survives for so long. Peace do manage to... And the attention turns to a shockwave. Praetor is locked up, not quite enough damage from Lisa. And Praetor will survive on the skin of his teeth or never. He dives in, so too does Decoy, and Appy charmed up, can't go anywhere. Aladoric, grand entrance will not manage to do a whole lot. That is surely going to be it. Violet and Halo desperately trying to fight under the Nexus towers, but BioPanther